Chapter 23. Interrogations. I didn't know what to say. I admit that my life in the Burrow didn't do much to build me up as a very social person. It's not that I didn't want to interact with others, it's simply I could never find any common ground with them. And since leaving the Burrow, things haven't changed much. The only social interactions I've had were with people who were trying to kill me. Yes, there was Bo and his family, but we simply spent a few moments together. It was not nearly long enough to get to know one another. Then there was Chief Laszlo. The reason I rescued him was because I thought he was a helpless old man, not because he was the leader of the Steel Guardians. Although, I doubt that would have mattered that much if I did know. But any interactions afterwards felt more like a formality rather than a social interaction. It's not like any of them exchanged friendly banter with me. Sure, Onion and I had idle conversations all the time, but that's because we know each other so very well. This fox, however, I knew nothing about, except for the fact that he nearly destroyed the town. The mayor seemed to convey his innocence, and while I only knew her slightly more than I did know him, something about her very presence compelled me to believe her. I hope I never have to play a game of poker with her. I felt a sharp poke in my side. Did she know I was thinking about her? I looked at her and saw she was nodding her head towards the cell. Looking into the enclosed room, I saw that the fox, Nathan, was now staring straight at us. His lips were quivering and his eyes were wide open. I could feel the fear emanating from him. My heart sank. This poor fox was terrified. Nathan, Miss Springs would like to ask you some questions. I would. Oh, yeah, the robot. Between the mayor's aura and this guy's terror-stricken visage, I'd forgotten why I was even here. What was I supposed to do? Part of me wanted to find out whoever was responsible for that fiasco and give him a swift kick in the ass. Another part of me wanted to kiss the genius who developed that amazing software. Now that I'm standing here in front of the guilty party, who looked as if he was about to burst into tears, I just wanted to comfort him and tell him it was okay. That mistakes happen. Fuck. This is why I hate social interactions. They're just too damn complicated. You can call me Olivia. I felt as if my words were fish swimming in a deep lake, and all I had was a broken fishing pole to catch them. All I want to know is about last night. Can you tell me what you were doing with the robot? Please. I'm sorry. I didn't know that would happen. Please, don't hurt me. Hurt you? Why would we hurt you? I looked at the mayor, but she just shrugged. I just want to know what happened. No one's here to hurt you, Nathan. I thought it was okay. I just wanted... Please. I beckoned the mayor over to the other side of the room. He seems very distraught. Why does he think we want to hurt him? I'm not entirely sure. Those three, him, his brother Marcus, and their friend Holly, arrived only a day before the siege. They pretty much keep to themselves, keeping up with board fees, not causing too much trouble. Although Nathan's curiosity did occasionally annoy the other residents. Like when he was adamant he could improve the electrical generator output by messing with their circuits. Well, I did notice there were a few hiccups in power flow. I actually wanted that to be my first day as your mechanic to take a look at them. And the water purifier and the defense system. Mayor Swift silenced me by placing her hoof on my mouth. You sound just as bad as him. Sorry. Force a habit. Well, that's why I made you our mechanic. I could tell it was your passion, just like I know it is his. Then why not offer him the position? They were never planning to stay long. When the siege started, Holly was the most restless out of all of them. She just wanted to leave, to get away from the danger. As you probably noticed earlier, she's very protective of them. How is it you can identify us so well when you barely know us? I have to. This town represents everything that Zootopia was founded upon. Freedom from persecution no matter who you are or were. Predators, prey, even former raiders are welcome as long as you respect the town's rules and its citizens. Raiders? You let raiders in here? Not everyone chooses to be a raider, dear. Some are forced into it, either from birth sold as a slave or because they had nothing to lose. While many of the raiders are truly bloodthirsty thugs, for some of them it's the only life they know. If you truly want to be a good person, hope welcomes you with open arms. I know a thing or two about being forced into something against your will. And what about the pit boar? Is he from a burrow too? They never talk much about their past. You know, pit boars are not very common. In my time here, I've only seen maybe half a dozen. I can tell you this. Unlike yourself, whose innocence is yet to be taken by the horrors of the world, they have been out there long enough to have theirs stripped away. Innocence? What did she mean by that? I've seen and done plenty so far. More than I'd ever imagined I would. More than anyone should. All I see before me is a scared mammal, looking as if he's being torn asunder from the inside. Is this world really that horrific that it can drive someone to an inconsolable state? I don't think he poses any real danger to me or anyone, and talking to him through those bars feels wrong to me. Would you be able to... Sweetie, it was never locked. What? What kind of jailer leaves the prison cells unlocked? I looked around me and saw that there was no exits other than the one we came in. Solid sheets of metal formed the walls, ceiling, and floor. Not even a single window was present. Either she had total trust in the two guards outside, or they rarely have need of them. Although something tells me it's something else entirely. I slowly walked back towards the cell and took off my tool belt. I slowly put it on the ground. All I had on me now was my pit boar, which I'm sure he already noticed. Placing my paw on the cell door caused him to shrink back to the wall behind him, as if he was trying to put as much distance between himself and me. I slowly opened the door until I was able to walk in. That look of fear stayed on his face as I slowly moved towards him, my arms outstretched showing him that I was unarmed. I'm not going to hurt you, I promise. I just want to talk. Nothing more. He didn't say anything as his wide eyes followed me. The quivering in his lip increased, as nervous twitches started to appear on his tail and paws. I couldn't tell if he was about to cry or run. The mayor told me that their innocence had been stripped, but right now all I see is a young cub, looking as if he's about to be scolded by his parents. Didn't someone once say there was innocence in youth? I moved close enough to sit down next to him, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible. Okay. Let's just forget about last night for right now. My name's Olivia. I held out my paw, hoping that he would at least take it as a friendly gesture. Nate. He didn't return the gesture, but I could see his eyes darting between me and the pit boar on my arm. I see you eyeing up my pit boar. I notice that you have one as well. Yeah? You're from a burrow, aren't you? His eyes were already wide with fear, but the mention of the word burrow, they seemed to grow large enough that I was afraid they would fly out at me. He was from a burrow. Well, let's talk about that then, shall we? I came from a burrow as well. It was about south of here, located under Zootopia Stadium, Burrow 76. Part of my brain was yelling at me saying that this was not something he needed to know. But I had to find a way to calm him down, and having something in common might help. Zootopia? I heard it exploded. I felt my face turn red, and he must have noticed it too because it seemed to calm him a bit. Yeah, that was me. There was this whole mess of savage ghouls there that greeted me, and if it wasn't for this bag of explosives I found, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. He was still looking at me, but remained silent. I needed to get him to talk about anything. After having spent my entire life in the burrow, seeing this world as it is was quite shocking. They always told us that it wasn't safe up here, that the radiation levels must be too high, otherwise Burrow Tech would have given us the all clear. I was beginning to think the Overseer was lying to us. Things were going fine up until the end. His quivering stopped and he started to sink into a more natural position. At least until I mentioned the Overseer. The words seemed to have drawn his fear right back into him. The shaking started again as he tried to curl himself into a ball. I hated my Overseer, but he was terrified of his. I better not press this anymore. Well, enough about the Burrows. Let's talk about Pip Wars. The mention of that seemed to calm him down, but only slightly. Amazing piece of equipment, aren't they? I got mine when I was, I think about 10. 10? We got ours around 6. Really? Well, to be honest, I didn't want one at first. I got a bit of reaction out of him when I said that one. You see, I love to tinker and fix stuff, always have. But the thought of a clunky device weighing me down, I thought it would hamper my dexterity. To be honest, though, that wasn't the main reason. I hated most of the Burrow residents, and since they all had one, I felt I would be one step closer to becoming one of them. That I'd lose my individuality. I fought day and night against wearing it. But it was finally my mother that convinced me it was useful when she showed me this. I opened up a folder. One that I hadn't needed to open in a very long time. Blueprints, circuit diagrams, component layouts. Every single mechanical and electrical layout that my mother could get her paws on. They were mine. But she told me the only way I could see them was if she downloaded them onto my Pip-Boar. For the next few months, I never took it off. I fell asleep every night while trying to memorize every little detail. I spent so much time looking over them I could probably have built the Burrow blindfolded, and it would still be 10 times more efficient than the one that I lived in. You memorized them all? Yup. I still know every nook and cranny of that place just from the diagrams. Hell, between hacking the Overseer's terminal, escaping the Burrow was easy that I'm surprised no one else thought of it. But then again, here you are. I don't really want to talk about it. He didn't seem afraid anymore, just slightly nervous. Maybe if this whole hero thing falls through, I can become a motivational speaker. Oh, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. Let's see if I can hook him in. However, I would like to know more about last night. Okay. I'm a lot like you. I enjoy fixing things. When you saved us, my brother and his girlfriend were so relieved that it was finally over. You said that they were relieved. What about you? I was. But I overheard that it was just the latest in a series of attacks on the town. These people have been so kind and accepting of us, especially Marcus and I, since, well, you know. Since what? Is there something I don't know about you two? The look on his face could only be best described as dumbfounded. Was it something I said? What do you see when you look at me? Was this some kind of trap? I looked over at the mayor, but her face was stiff, an expression I didn't think she was capable of making. I see a young, intelligent mammal who made a simple mistake and is, in my opinion, overreacting a bit more than he should. The dumbfounded face still remained. Is that all you see? Really? Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really know you that well apart from our little talk, so all I can go on is looks, and right now you look confused. Was it something I said? You... really? You don't see me for anything else? Like, for instance, my species? You're a fox. So what? I looked over at the mayor, and she seemed to have adopted the same reaction as him. Did I say something wrong? Sweetie, just who was in your burrow? For the first time, the mayor decided to chime in. What do you mean? It was mostly rodent species with a few rabbits. Honestly, the rodents greatly outnumbered us bunnies. You mean there were no predators? No, there wasn't. I know history, and I know that predators and prey were once enemies prior to modern civilization, but I really never thought about it much. I figured the other burrows just had predators like we had prey. Sweetie, for the past, well, ever, out of all the predators out there, foxes have always been looked upon as sly, shifty, and untrustworthy. Predators and prey alike have an ingrained distrust in foxes, and even now that distrust still exists, no matter how many times a fox shows the world otherwise. I don't think that it will ever fade. I didn't know. Sure, I read many books where the fox was the bad guy, but I never thought about it like that. I don't see how a species can define you. All I see is who the mammal is, not what they are. I don't care if you're a fox or an elephant or a giraffe. If you're good, I'll protect you. And if you're evil, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you can never hurt anyone again. That's all I care about. I knew there was a reason I liked you. You're not just a hero by title because you saved us. You are the definition of a hero. You are what greater mammals have strove to be their entire lives. If there were only more like you, then this world could finally find the peace it deserves. She looked as if she was on the verge of crying. Was the world really that bad? I know I've seen things, and things that no sane mammal should. But if I'm the only one who really cares about it, is this world even worth saving? The mayor had a very relaxed smile on her face while Nate looked as if he just found the one love of his life. I wanted to get him talking, but I didn't expect such an emotional turn of events. Let's see about that information now. So, Nate, you were saying about last night? Right. Well, like I said, this town has been overly accepting of us, and, well, I shouldn't say accepting, but tolerant at least. We were able to trade, barter, and dine without the usual sneers a fox tends to get. While Holly and Marcus were ready to move on, I just wanted to enjoy this feeling. That, and it really bothered me seeing some of the machines in such disrepair. Oh, I know the feeling. Between the generators, water purifier, and that lousy excuse for a defense system. No offense, Mayor. I have my work cut out for me. I know. You know how long I tried to even attempt to get the power fluctuations under control? Is this how I look when I talk shop? The mayor just smiled at me. Oh, yeah, I heard. About the robot? Oh, yeah. You see, I wanted to find a way I could repay Hope for her generosity. Since I guessed that the turret systems were offline and I doubted I could get access to their defense systems, I thought, why don't I fix up that robot? Then they could have a portable defense system. But things didn't work out as you planned, did it? That's the thing. My code was flawless. Before I even snuck out to the robot, I spent most of the afternoon and evening writing and testing and rewriting the special code that allowed me to purge the existing software and install my own OS. I was planning on fixing it up in secret and then presenting it as a gift to the town in the morning. I don't know what happened. During the download, the thing just started going crazy. That's when the mayor's guards were alerted and they apprehended me. And, well, you know the rest. I still don't know what went wrong. Your code was self-replicating? That's my baby, all right. You see, I figured there had to have been some fail-safes to prevent hacking. That's what I would do, at least. So I designed my code to infiltrate and override. But if it was damaged or overwritten itself, it would simply replicate the original code and try again. Just like a virus can do so much against your immune system before it beats back. The code would replicate indefinitely until the job was completed. That code was amazing. Almost pornographic in its nature. Anyways, I think I know what happened. I didn't just find remnants of your code in the factory code. There were other foreign lines of code. I pulled up the data of my hack log. I like keeping a backup of the logs just so I can learn from any mistakes. His jaw dropped as he looked over it. I had no idea. That's some nasty-looking code. That's what I thought. Originally, I figured that this was the self-replicating code until I realized this third set must have been like a virus. I think when those Berserk Kings got their paws on that robot, they either created or stole a program that, rather than completely hack into the system, it slowly ate away the original code, replacing it with its own, thus fooling the failsafes into thinking it was part of the natural code. When your code entered the fray, it wasn't so subtle. So both the factory and the virus attacked it. But when the virus had to keep beating back your replicating code, the failsafe was accidentally triggered, and thus the self-destruction initiated. To be honest, if it weren't for the whole going nuclear thing, I would have loved to study that code further. You got all that from the short time you were on the robot? The mayor seemed impressed. But Nate had that look of a lovesick child again. I wasn't sure if I should be blushing or cringing. Unfortunately, the code's history now. I was able to piggyback off your code in order to hide from the other two while I searched for the root folder. Once I was in, I was able to scrub the entire thing, rendering it a lifeless, powerless hunk of metal. Well, what should we do with it? Since you're the new mechanic, you have the authority over it now. Honestly, Mayor? I still have the plans for Onion's original AI software. I built him years ago, and he's yet to go berserk and try to kill everyone. I developed a learning AI for him, but I can modify it to be much simpler. Do this, do that. One to prevent any further incidents. We just need a way to power it. Preferably something that won't turn this entire town into a crater. Maybe some kind of magnetic inducer with a metal coil? If we were to couple that with a large enough capacitor and utilize the reversing field, we could have a near infinite power for the robot without any risk of self-destruction. That's actually similar to how Onion works, only rather than creating power, his system takes a small amount of power that's externally gathered and recycles it in order to create a more sustainable effect. A small charge can last him a few days. I would love to look at your robot one day, Olivia. He sounds fascinating. Well, you can try, but he doesn't take too kindly to strangers poking around in his circuits. But then again, you're the first person I've met that actually knows what they're talking about. At least I think so. I was kind of in a coma for a week. Don't really know what happened then. This time both of their jaws dropped as they simultaneously shouted, "Coma?" Long story. Mayor, what do you think we should do now? Well, I for one believe his story. While I try to assure the rest of the town they are not spies they believe them to be, I also would probably advise that you shouldn't stay much longer. I'm not kicking you out, Nathan, but this town needs time to recover, and paranoia will not help things. Spies? Do they really think we're spies? Not everyone, but unfortunately for the majority, yes. I have tried my best to assure them that this is not the case, but if we happen to get attacked again while you're still here, I'm afraid it's just more fuel for those thoughts. Well, Marcus and Holly are eager to leave, so first thing in the morning we'll head out. I am so sorry for all the trouble that has been caused to you, both of you. Nathan, I will see that your last night is paid for, and that any supplies you require are taken care of. This imprisonment was merely for show, to give the people what they think they deserve. I hate lying to them. But in this world, sometimes a lie is more acceptable than the truth, no matter who it hurts. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Olivia. Other than Holly, I've had difficulties with other rabbits, and for that matter, other prey mammals as well. You've shown me, at least, that not everyone's so unaccepting of foxes. I put my paw in his as a friendly gesture, and he smiled at me. Well, I think it was a smile. It looked very awkward. I slowly pulled my paw away from him as the door flew open as one of the guards ran in. Mayor Swift, we have an emergency. What is it, Reggie? Deathwings. They're attacking the traders trying to enter the city. Deathwings? In the middle of the day, take your brother and gather as many residents who are willing to take up arms. Try to drive them away from the traders so they can get into the town. Make sure no one engages them in melee. And have someone standing by to shut the gates once everyone is safely inside. Mayor. I don't think she heard me as she reached for her radio. Citizens of Hope, please keep calm. A group of Deathwings has been spotted outside the town limits. Traders who are en route to our town are caught under the attack. We need to assist them so they can reach safety in our walls. Anyone with long arm experience, please report to Reggie and Williams at the gate. Everyone else, please remain calm, and under no circumstances should anyone leave the confines of the town. I know we have been through a lot these last few weeks, but we have proven time and time again that we are greatest when we stick together. Mayor. Once again I was interrupted as Dr. Ball scurried in and jumped up onto the mayor's shoulders. Jezebel, we need that caravan. Our medical supplies are getting critically low. Calm down, Doctor. We are going to do what we can. Remember, we have our hero with us. Well, she'll be no use to anyone if she dies of a minor infection because we have no antibiotics. Okay. I finally got their attention. What the actual fuck is a Deathwing? Oh, sweetie. If you think raiders are the worst thing this world can offer, then you have never seen a Deathwing. They are vicious, bloodthirsty, and unrelenting. We don't know where they come from, but they are often referred to as winged demons. Not only can they fly, but they possess an unnatural regenerative capability. And they're strong enough to rip a guardian's armor in half with ease. Very few who engage them directly have ever lived to tell the tale. So that's what those things were. I got attacked by 3 of them not too long ago. Threw a giant donut at one. I wasn't too happy about that. What is it with my words making jaws drop today? All 3 of them were just staring at me like I told them I was responsible for switching the sun and the moon every day. You fought 3 Deathwings? It was Nate who spoke first. Well, I wouldn't say fought per se, more like ran. But I did almost kill one, before its wing grew back. Then there was the donut, and the strangest thing happened. One was about to attack me when someone else shot at it. Don't know who it was, but I finally was able to escape them when the ground below me caved in and dropped me into some sort of research facility where I met this nice bear, or rather a ghoulified glowing rodent inside a bear. And the guy who attacked us called him a corpse engine? It was hard thinking about Mr. Big. He sacrificed himself to save me and Onion. Anyway, it's a long and confusing story. I'll best save it for another day. What do you want me to do, Mayor? There was a long pause, and I could hear them muttering things like, she met a corpse engine and a donut? Their confused looks remained for a moment longer before the mayor snapped out of it first. Later. Okay, to the situation at hand. Olivia, I need you to... She was interrupted by a scream, followed by a series of gunshots. My ears twitched and turned towards the sound, but it was Nate who reacted first. He ran out the unguarded door in a panic. The mayor and I in turn followed, the doctor still hanging onto the mayor's shoulders. There was a large crowd gathered near the entrance. Everyone had different types of guns pointed out the door, but no one was firing. I heard the scream again, followed by a string of swear words that made my bad mouth feel clean. I ran to the entrance as the mayor shouted, "Hold your fire!" About 50 feet away from the entrance were 4 giant bat-like creatures. It was midday, so I could see them much better than my last encounter with them. They must have been at least 5 or 6 feet tall. While they looked like they had the body and wings of a bat, their heads were more wolf-like, and their legs were extremely muscular. They looked much more dangerous in the daylight. I looked for where the screaming and swearing was coming from, and I saw that it belonged to the rabbit from earlier. She was firing at the creatures, but they were too fast. No matter how well it looked like she was aiming, they were faster. Her swears became louder as her aim started to waver. I went to pull out my own gun, but then I remembered I'd left it in the workshop. Oh, fuck me.
Miss!
It was Onion. Almost as if he read my mind, he came up to me with my gun in his claw. Oh, am I glad to see you, Onion. Stay back, I've got to go help. I grabbed my gun and ran out the door. I didn't want to just fire aimlessly. Even if I did hit it, it would just regenerate. I needed to use it in a different way. I looked around me, but there was not a lot around here. Mostly scattered debris. There was absolutely nothing I could use. My train of thought derailed as a loud gunshot fired dangerously close to me. I turned and saw it was Nathan's brother Marcus, with a very heavy-looking revolver firing towards the Deathwings. I tried to tell him to save his bullets, but then Nate showed up with a larger rifle and started to fire as well. That caught the attention of one of the Deathwings as Nate's bullet pierced its wing. "You two, take cover! One of them is coming!" Either they ignored me or just didn't hear me, but they remained, dashing forward between shots. Those two were going to get themselves killed. But that was their friend being attacked, so part of me didn't blame them. Then again, they'd be no use to her dead. I ran forward and tried to get bats to activate, but then I remembered I was out of serum. Ah, fuck me. I had no idea what to do. I kept running forward, trying to keep pace with the brothers, so that I could make sure that they didn't do something stupid. I suddenly realized how Onion must feel about me in situations like this. I can't outgun the situation. I had to outsmart it. I saw two connected wagons that must have been the trader's caravan. But then I noticed something. While the Deathwings were trying to attack anyone who came near them, they were not straying from the wagons too much. Even the one that started after Nate changed its mind and flew back and landed on one of the wagons before using its feet to try to tear the fabric off the roof. They wanted something in there. "Mayor!" I saw her standing at the gate, giving orders to everyone as they ran from place to place. She looked at me as I caught her attention. "They want the caravan!" She looked towards the action for a moment before nodding. I saw her say something to Dr. Bull, who released a small series of expletives herself before running back into the town. Mayor Swift, who I now saw was wielding her grenade launcher, took aim. The familiar noise of a grenade leaving the chamber sounded as I followed the grenade's trajectory. Her aim was impeccable, for it landed right in front of the wagon that the Deathwing was on before exploding a second later. The force of the shockwave sent the wagon into the air, scattering its contents everywhere. The explosion got the attention of all three of them, who turned towards us. One of them started to fly in our direction before stopping with a loud screeching noise. I saw that one of the Deathwings had plucked an item from the wagon's wreckage and started to take off. All three of them seemed to forget about us as they all started to fly away. The traders, who for the most part were unharmed, ran towards the town without looking back. Once they were safely within the town walls, everyone started to calm down. That is, until I heard the sound of a gun go off. I faced the noise and saw Holly with her gun. She was firing shots at the retreating Deathwings. They were mostly ignoring her shots until one of them hit the leg of the one carrying whatever it was they got from the caravan. The impact must have caused it to lose its grip, because the item fell down and shattered on the ground. All three of the Deathwings let out a near-deafening shriek as one of them swooped down on Holly, grabbing her with its claws. Marcus went insane. He fired off his gun until there were no rounds left and then grabbed the gun out of Nate's hands and started to unleash every round it had. I ran over to him to try to stop him. If he wasn't careful, he'd hit Holly. The Deathwings retreated unscathed from Marcus' hail of bullets, Holly continuing to scream and swear until the creatures had gotten far enough away that it was only silence. Then the clicking of an empty rifle was the only noise. I tried to take the empty rifle from Marcus, but instead he lunged at me, trying to take my own gun. I didn't want it to come to this, but I had no choice. He was acting crazy and was a threat to himself and others. I took out my gun and cracked him over the head with the handle, knocking him unconscious. Nate ran to his downed brother and glared at me. The mayor arrived along with her guards and picked up Marcus and carried him towards the doctor's office. A few of the other mammals headed towards the caravan under the mayor's order to salvage anything they could. I felt horrible for what I did, but I had to do it. I faced Nate, who was now starting to cry. "I'm sorry, but I promise you I will get her back."